Hi, everybody, and welcome to the latest episode of the Endless Celts Podcast. I'm joined by William and Anthony. How are you both?
Very well, mate.
I'm all good, Stephen. All good. Celtic are back in action, back to winning ways. It's all good in the hood.
100%. Thank God that international break's over, lads. That just felt like an eternity. I know. Obviously,
William you're preaching to the wrong crowd here, Stephen.
He puts on his Braveheart cap and all, freedom and all that. He loves his country. But I couldn't wait. The whole shambles was over and done with, and the Celtic are back. And even the Frank, Craig White, the legend, Ryan Kelly, Jed Thomas, Alistair Jack, all in this early on. We appreciate it. And we'll start off how we always usually do on a Monday with the Super Six. And at the moment, joint top is Francis, our very own, and Alistair Jack on 97 points. We can't seem to get him off. It's so annoying. It is really annoying. And then coming in at third place is Sean Ross. Fourth is William. And to round off the top five is James Bowie. And also, as you all can see, our sponsors down here, Beer 52. William, you had them on Friday. How did you find them? The beers?
I had the whole lot. They were the reason I had the hangover on Saturday. I actually tanned the whole box on our pod and then on the Bhoys bus after it. So lovely. Lots of good, all different sorts of flavours. There's coffee ones and all that in there as well. And I don't drink coffee, but it was dynamite. I enjoyed it.
The coffee one took me by surprise. I was enjoying the wee, like craft beers, and then bang, had the coffee one. I was like a wee bit like, oh, but it's actually very, very nice. And again, if people want to take advantage of that, beer52.com/Celts, get your free case. You cover postage, and then it's a subscription basis, which you can cancel anytime, no cost involved, all that type of thing. But 100%, Alistair Jack already here, lads. Stephen trying to be positive tonight. 100%, Alistair. I'm never anything but positive. But we'll start, Willie, with the game. Obviously, you done a mega shift on Friday. You were on for basically 4 hours doing Celtic podcast ourselves and nostalgia with Phil McGinley. Then you come off, the weekend came, Celtic back in action. A wee recap summary of the game. How was it for yourself?
Much like the Champions League endeavours this season, but we actually got the victory. I thought there was a lot of wasted chances, and I don't know. It seemed like another game where we didn't get out of second or third gear. But listen, 3 points is all that matters. Back top of the table again after our neighbours across the city beat Hearts in the afternoon kickoff, so that's all that mattered was the 3 points, and you're not going to go out there and tan everybody 6-0 every week. So listen, it's another 3 points in the bag. Very happy, and move on to the next one. Move on to Wednesday.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony, I think William's right in a way. Like, we're not expected to absolutely rip things apart all the time at Celtic Park, and I think, to be fair, when you say that the game kind of was reminiscent of the Champions League so far, I 100% agree that there were so many wasted opportunities, Anthony. And obviously, you were at the game with your son, wasn't it? You were at the game with your son. So
no, my dad on Saturday.
Oh, your dad. Well, fair enough. But I mean, it's like, what was the feeling like in the crowd? Was there any kind of anxious moments for them?
Yeah, there was, to be honest, and I think that coinciding with obviously the disappointing result before the break, and then of course the expected walk in the park for Rangers against their wee cousins, it kind of led to that kind of a little bit of jitters, and I think there was just that eagerness that they wanted the crowd. Naturally, you want them to start the way they've been playing a lot at the start of the season. You think of the Rangers game and stuff with Dundee United and whatnot, but I think this is a scoreline that very much flatters Motherwell, and as much as maybe things that the final pass didn't quite go away, or we maybe missed quite a few chances. Some of the nonsense I've read in the papers, and even on the way home, I normally just stick the Celtic tunes on the way home in the car, but we couldn't get the signal to work, and so we ended up, for our sons, having to listen to Clyde One. And there was actually Celtic supporters phoning in to Clyde One saying that we were lucky to get away with a point. Almost as if Motherwell could have won the game. And you just think, what drugs are these guys on sometimes? It was a narrow win, but it was a win, and it was a win that was okay. You always, when it gets to 89, 90 minutes, and it's still only one goal, and there's a wayward pass like Reo did. There's always going to be naturally a bit of jitters. But it was similar for me to the start of the season against Aberdeen, where it was 1-0 for a long periods in the game. and Hearts when, Yakimakis didn't score the second one until right at the end of the game. As much as the scoreline suggested it was very tight and narrow and that we rode our luck at times, there was never a doubt for me that Celtic were coming away with a victory here. And sometimes you can do everything right and the scoreline just not go your way. Not forgetting as well, because obviously Sky and stuff, other outlets haven't showed it on their highlight package conveniently. But just if anyone's not aware, Celtic were denied an absolute stonewall penalty kick as well midway through the second half. So if that goes in, you're 2-0 up and you're absolutely coasting by that point. So like you say, of course, looking at the stats right off the course, you think, oh God, this has been a close one. But Motherwell were never in the game. Any team that comes, parts the bus and has 30% possession, got exactly what they deserved. Hee-haw.
Yeah, I think I do agree with you to the extent. Kenny was at the game, Stephen was at the game, and the crowd were a bit negative, to be honest. I kind of got that vibe. Willie, when I eventually got to watch some of the match, it was an absolute shambles. Me and McGranda trying to find one of them things that they kind of get the game on and that, but it wasn't for happening. But I managed to catch it. But in terms of the game itself, before we get into the goals, one thing I do want to talk to you about, you mentioned the Champions League and the whole clinical side of things, trying to take your chances, seems to be not disappearing, but from the last couple of games, it's kind of went from regain. We've seen Kyogo miss like 2 headers from close range, from rebounds that he would have buried, I think, in another day. Kalmack scam one over the bar and it got put back to him in the box, and a couple of chances they got went begging. Is that a concern for yourself? And do you think maybe the international break came at maybe the wrong time, instead of trying to right the wrong of the defeat against St Mirren straight away in midweek or the next weekend?
Yeah, no, I'm not concerned. I'd be concerned if we weren't creating chances, but we're creating barrel loads of games still. So I've not got any concerns with that. Like we say, there's ebbs and flows. We're going to score 6 goals one game and then not do so well in the next. But yeah, so I'm not worried at all in the slightest. But I think we'll still go and batter teams, and we're and we'll continue to do so. And yeah, totally. I think the international break did come at the wrong time. 2 or 3 weeks ago, everybody on all corners of the earth were saying that we were going to absolutely stroll the league because we were flying, and now all of a sudden it's like the polar opposite, and it's panic stations, and it's just a bit too much. Some fans are fickle. There's going to be negativity, and if a bad run is a 1 league defeat and a defeat against Real Madrid, a league defeat, which can happen. Bearing in mind we went a year unbeaten before that seems to be forgotten very quickly. And then a draw away in a tough game in the Champions League. If that's a bad run, then geez, what was Lennon doing? That's what that was another point I was wanting to make as well. Why I'm not worried. Because we're creating the chances. You look back to when Lennon we were going through games and we were barely getting a shot on target. There was actually games where we didn't get a shot on target. That's not the case now. We're absolutely dominating games, and it's just one of those things. One week you're going to spank goals in, and 1 week you're not. Man City have done it this year. I think Man City have been beat this year. They're also scoring goals for fun. It's going to happen. We'll still stroll the league.
Just sadly no yesterday.
Imagine having like Haaland up front in the Scottish League. I'll be scary with. Oh Jesus! But I mean, well, Willie made a point there, Anthony, and it's like supporters are fickle, 100%. Me myself, I kind of get a reaction knee jerk after a game and kind of flying off the cuff. You guys have seen that before countless times after different results have out against Celtic. But Anthony, I think it is right, because you look at the fixture itself, Motherwell. And in the podcast beforehand, we were predicting an easier victory, maybe a 3 or 4-0. I think you said as well, hassle-free nil, if I can remember on the last podcast, Anthony. So there was high expectations there going into the game. It's one of them ones. For me, this clinical thing has to improve. Kyogo missed at least 3 chances. He could have had 4 goals, including the one he did get, by the way, which I think was spinning into the net. The man already hit that header. I think it was spinning over the line, but he just took it like a good goal scorer does. But is it a concern for yourself?
No, I mean, like Willie says, if we weren't making chances, and there has been periods in recent history where we haven't been looking great in games and not getting any chances at all. I mean, you remember in in Brendan's third season, the season in which he left halfway through, there was a game at Kilmarnock where we lost the match, and we didn't actually have a shot on target. It was an own goal that put us 1-0 up, and we lost the game 2-1. We didn't register a shot on target against Kilmarnock, who, they were in the post Steve Clarke era at that point. So you start to think to yourself, well, how are we not even getting a shot on target against Kilmarnock? So yeah, I would be more worried if we weren't creating them, and I just think that naturally will come back. But there's, like the thing we say, there's tight games in every season. There's tight runs in every season, and I'll let you. Here's a run of 10 games, right? And here's the results. I'll quickly run through them, and I'll re-question it in, right? So Celtic 4, Thistle 1, Celtic 1, Hamilton 0, Celtic 2, Dundee 1, Celtic 1, Partick Thistle 0, Celtic 3, Hamilton 0, Celtic 2, Ross County 0, Celtic 2, Rangers 1, Celtic 1, St Johnstone 0, Celtic 4, Hearts 0, Celtic 1, Aberdeen 0. That's a run of 10 games between the start of December and the end of January in one season. What season do you think that was, Stephen?
Oh, recent. Didn't expect this, Big Chief. Let me think. Was it Rodgers last season?
It wasn't. No, it was the Invincible season. There's a run of 10 games between the start of the festive period and just after the winter break, where we played 10 games. 6 of them were only won by the odd goal. It was affectionately and amusingly known as the slump by the media, and a slump in which you win every game. And so there you go. The likes of, and I remember being at a lot of these games, the 1-0 against Hamilton and Thistle, Dundee. All of these teams made it awkward around that time for us, and there was a lot of Dembele's no scoring and Sinclair's being wasteful, etc. My whole point being, when you think back of the Invincible season, you never remember the dodgy game against Dundee or the narrow win against County. You remember the 3 trophies and the free-flowing football. So this is just, like I say, it wasn't great on Saturday, but by the same point, we weren't making lots of chances, and that'll all come back. It just needs to click again. There was a little shock to the system against St Mirren, but blips can happen, and it's all about how you recover. And we recovered with a win, and that's all you can ask for. And 3 points in the bag, back at the top where we belong, and we move on to the next game.
Big Chief down there as well. He's been up all night researching.
Kyogo getting out, well, no wee bit of stick, but you know what I mean, a wee bit of criticism maybe for you in the chat.
I agree with it.
He's got 7 goals in 8 games this season in the league, and so unless you're Haaland or peak Messi, that's fucking outstanding.
Well, I get what you're saying, but there is a case, and you even said it before, William, where he has to be more clinical. We've all said it.
I agree. I said he's not the greatest finisher in the world.
Yeah,
but 7 goals in 8 games would argue against that, to be honest.
No, 100%. And McGranda comes in. Hi, boys from White Abbey on Sea. From what I saw of the game, they missed some chances and should have had a penalty. 100%. That was a clear handball. But we'll kind of move on, William, to the goal we conceded before we talk about the good stuff that Celtic got done in the game. And there was some of it, let's be honest. We've been a miscommunication between Juranovic and Joe Hart. Watching it back again, obviously, in the moment, you're cracking up and you're a bit frustrated and that, but it looked like to me that there was no talking between them. He went the chest to back. It gave me the Chattery and Fraser Foster vibes against Ryan when it went into the back of the net and he just looked away and started smiling, a bit like Juranovic done, which I don't understand. I'd be would be fuming with myself if I'd done that and fuming with him as well. But what do you think the issue is there? Is it just one of them things that happened, or is it one of them things that's a bit like?
I tried to watch it back, and I thought it's hard to tell, but I thought I seen Hart shouting. But nevertheless, it's just bad communication between the two. But I said in the group chat at the time when he walked away and he was kind of smirking, it really ticked me off. You can't be smiling away at that, and it really annoyed me. But in the same token, when that goal went in, there was no panic stations. I was like, we're going to go and score 2 or 3 anyway. Well, obviously only scored 1, but they got the win. I think the defence has been so good this season. It's a bit of a shame that that's happened, because other than that, I can't remember a chance where I was I was freaking out. Other than, we'll talk about it later, Calmac bringing the boy down when he's going clean through. Other than that, there was never a heart in the mouth moment for me. I thought we cruised the whole game, like Tony said. We had 70% possession, and we're absolute cruise control. So it's unfortunate that happened, but again, I didn't think we were ever in any bother.
Aye, but when you make a mistake like that, it's a bit like, Jesus, come on, get your head in the game. It's a bit like the complacency set in, wasn't it? He was trying to be a bit too casual and knock it back, and obviously Anthony, Joe Hart's running towards him. The ball ends up past him. Joe Hart tries to get it, doesn't happen, and that's how the score gets.
I did think at the game, looking back, I think Hart did shout for it, but he maybe didn't just shout maybe loud enough. I mean, as much as you know that I sometimes are overly critical of goalkeepers, but I put it more. I mean, I think they're both at fault, but I blame Juranovic more for the angle in which he chests it back, because you see, from a wider perspective, Maeda is already starting to make the run out on the right, and we know how much Joe Hart, even when it's a goal kick, he likes the ball boys behind the goal to have two balls at either side ready to go. So the minute the ball goes out to play, we start again. Joe Hart was running in that direction, but what I could see with the sole intention of getting that ball out to Maeda as quick as possible. So the way in which he starts to take off, I think Juranovic has got more than enough time, because he's not under any pressure to just realise, right, if I'm chesting this back in the wrong direction, and again, also, I mean, I know that it would definitely go against Angie's teachings, but if Juranovic felt that he was perhaps under pressure, or he maybe didn't know if there was a man behind him or anything, there's the old saying of, if in doubt, kick it out, so if he was unsure about anything, just clear your lines. You don't want to be chesting the ball or try to do anything fancy in and around the 6-yard box. So as much as I love wee Pitbull, I think he was at fault more than Joe Hart for the goal. But it's one of the video nasty ones that'll end up on one of these football howler, compilations on YouTube, no doubt. But thankfully, it just didn't prove costly.
And we talk about 100%. Fickle fans now. He's been getting it in the neck since, and Ralston.
Here, you ready for this? Are you ready for this though? About Joe Hart? Now, Monty, he usually winds us all up, but I think he's being serious here. I didn't really want to say, but I'm going to put Seagrass in now and give Hart a kick up the arse. Really, what he said about that?
Yeah, it's fair enough. I disagree. I think Hart's been immense all last season.
Frankson, I agree.
And I think he's been immense last season. I think he's done a lot of good this season as well. He's contained studs to the head and got stapled and continued on just weeks ago. He's pulled off some wonderful saves as well. I think that's looking far too much into the few negatives rather than looking at the other side of things, for me, in my opinion. And it's the same with Juranovic. He's been getting stick all this week, and I can understand why, because Ralston's numbers are brilliant, and he has been, every time he comes in, he looks superb. And if you look at the numbers for last season, Ralston's assist stats and goals is second to none. So if we're looking at rotation, I think Ralston's one that would, for me, maybe will be looking to come in a bit more and get more game time. But I think it's a bit harsh to say that, like, certain fans were screaming that he was worth 20 million upwards going to Chelsea a few months ago, and now he shouldn't be in the team. So fickle fans, like I say.
I mean, Anthony, come and do for your opinion on it. Now, Gypsum King, there's a few people, actually, I agree with Monty. Seagrass is bursting his balls to start. I say unleash him for a game or two. Now, we always say rotation. Why can Hart not be rotated for Seagrass for a couple of games?
Well, I just think it would be, and I accept that he's an experienced goalkeeper, but I think it would be very, very foolish to drop your number one goalkeeper during a league campaign. Now, I accept that, listen, I'm not against Seagrass. I think he's a very decent goalkeeper. And it looks as if he's perhaps going to be... He started against Ross County in the League Cup, if I remember correctly. So there's every chance he'll start at Fir Park when we play them when we play Motherwell in the quarter-finals. But I'm never a big... Unless it was like an absolutely... You're talking John McLaughlin levels of drops in form. But even then, I just think there's there's a bit of a stigma attached to changing your goalkeeper. And like I say, I think the ones that, he definitely could have done better for the second goal against St Mirren. I think there was a lot of people thought he was at fault for the first goal as well. I didn't sign up to that. I think, yes, it was at him, but it was going so fast that it's beyond him before you can even get the chance to react. So yeah, I can say that he definitely could have done better with a couple of goals, but I don't know if Siegrist is becoming, Jack Jack Wilshere or one of these other players that the less they play, the better they get. And we've seen it last year. A lot of people were screaming to get Julian back in the team because Starfelt would maybe give away a stray pass or whatever, and we've seen what happened there. So listen, unless he starts throwing them in on a really consistent basis, I see no evidence or any sort of conclusive proof that Joe Hart isn't the number one at Celtic going forward. Siegrist, time will come. He's too good a goalkeeper for it not to, but it's not going to be this season for me.
Fair enough. I mean, Monty comes in, and I do agree with this. We discussed it before. I thought Hart could have stood taller and stronger at the Shakhtar goal. 100%. Kaiser with a tongue-in-cheek comment, bring Barkas back. Coincidentally, though, he kept his third clean sheet in a row for his new club. So
look at you keeping tabs on Barkas.
He just can't let go, can't he? He just can't let go.
By the way, see that all that chat with Siegrist? I'm really surprised at that. I would never have thought the fan base would be going. It's interesting to hear.
It's a bit like, I mean, because we always talk about rotation for me, and the one player never really is affected by that talk is Joe Hart, and that's fair enough because he's been absolutely superb. And as Anthony said, you can't really fault him or drop him after 3 or 4 mistakes. But if this trend continues where he looks like he's at fault or there's miscommunication, maybe dip him in and out. We've done it with a lot of players and it's helped. We've done it with the likes of Jota, with Maeda, with Abada, and he's one of our top goal contributors in the whole team.
I hear what you're saying, but a lot of that sounds to me like it's not about rotation, it's about Joe Hart's been minced and Siegrist should come in. I don't agree with that at all. No, not for you, but for the chat. For the chat, that's what I was getting. But I just don't see it. I honestly think we've lost 1 league game this season. We're top of the league. We've started off decent in the Champions League. We've got 2 big home games coming up, which we could be doing wonderful things in Europe. And I just feel like it's starting to get a bit negative now. And I'm like, I don't understand why. We're still flying.
It's just that, I mean, I accept that there's a debate to be had about the goal that he lost against Shakhtar. But what seems to give a lot of people are using that as evidence as to why Siegrist should be in goals, and that's fair enough. But what seems to be forgotten is the 2 or 3 big saves that Joe Hart made that night. So you gotta take into account everything before coming to that before making a conclusion, I would say. And for me at the moment, Joe Hart's the number one.
I agree.
And Monty comes in, does the fan round it off here. William, I just believe Siegrist is a very good goalkeeper. Hart isn't going to be around forever, and we need to see if Siegrist has the stuff to be Celtic number 1. That's fair enough as well, to be fair. You know what I mean? And then Alistair Jack, where is he? Let's see. Me and William, the voice of reason. Well, I don't know about that, but sure, we'll go with that. Kenny comes in, spot on. William, too much negativity on Hart. Now, again, from my point, it wasn't negativity. It's just about the rotation aspect that we always speak about for the team. But we'll move on to some of the good stuff, William, that happened within the game. And this probably the star man of the whole occasion was Reo Hatate. I thought he was absolutely sublime. He controlled the midfield. Obviously, it seems at the moment it's a bit like 1 game he plays well, 2 games he's just kind of floating, then he's back and just needs to find that consistency for me, and then he'd be like, bang, he'd be flying. But that game yesterday, against Motherwell, I thought he was excellent. His passing, his shot off the post, and then his wonderful goal to win it for us as well. He controlled the game, didn't he?
Yeah, I think he's an absolute steal for what we've got him. I said it in the pod on Friday that I can't believe that Japanese midfield must be unbelievable because you can't get a sniff in the squad. I think he's perfect in that number 8 role because he's got his engines non-stop. Even though he keeps getting hooked after 60 minutes, 70 minutes this season for whatever reason, his engine's unbelievable. He tracks men back to his own byline. He gets forward and gets goals. He's got a great shot on him. He's shown that on numerous occasions. He's hardy in the tackle as well. And one thing I've noticed this season that I didn't really see as much last season is his range of passings. He's been taking. See when he's taking these throw-ins and pinging them across on the half volley and stuff like that. It's like different class. He's been a standout for me this season in a group of players that there's been a lot of standouts, but for me he's been right up there with the best in the league this season. I think he's been immense. And because I'm always an advocate of getting Calmack in that number 8 if we can, but you keep him in that quarterback role if Hatati's playing, because for me he's perfect all round number 8. I think he's got everything to play in that position in midfield, and he's been absolutely immense. And I definitely backed his best on Saturday there. I thought he was immense, and I don't know who got man of the match, but I would imagine he wouldn't have been far away if it was.
Yeah, I think as well, like what you have to remember, Anthony, Postecoglou was saying obviously after the game that Hatate's only been a professional footballer for 4 years, obviously with a system coming out of Japan university, and then they go into their clubs and stuff. They're on a scholarship and they kind of progresses from there. But he thinks this is still his baseline in terms of what he can offer Celtic Football Club. And that for me, we always use the term frightening and scary, but that is because he is a genuine talent. You can see it. And William's right to point out that the video doing the social media rounds where he takes the throw in for Juranovic against Real Madrid and he just pings it across the yellow like it was nothing. Absolutely fantastic against probably the best midfielder of the world in Modric. He's doing that as well on the biggest stage. When he plays well, he's fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, he's different class. I was just going to bring that up. The pass against Real Madrid that night, that was absolutely sensational. And I'm not sure if it was maybe actually in the lead up to the attack that Callum McGregor ended up hitting the post. So or it was certainly maybe around the same time in the game. So yeah, that was definitely a purple patch for us in that game. Just a shame we couldn't capitalise on it. But yeah, Saturday, yeah, I totally agree. It was one of he's been fantastic all season, but that was I would say even a class above again on Saturday. A goal fit to win any game, but he'd nearly done a similar shot in the first half that hit the post. So he could have had another one of those as well. He's just he's a special player, and it's clear that Ange rates him as well. I think, although we say there's a lot of rotation going on in the team, generally when it's the big games, it's McGregor, O'Reilly, and Hatate. It's going to be the main three. And yeah, his passing's incredible. He can, pick a ball out anywhere, and he's got a great shot on him. So yeah, long may he continue. I'm glad
that it's been all positive, because he obviously made one howler that led to something that happened later on. And a lot of people will be getting on his back about that, and it's exactly what Tony was saying earlier about Hart making however many saves, but they'll get remembered. It was the same for me then. I thought Hatate was man of the match in my opinion, but he got absolutely sloshed all over social media because he's passed back to Calmack there. But I'm glad to see that it's positive on here tonight about him.
We're obviously going to talk about that, but one thing I do want to kind of touch upon as well. For me, William, he's been the best Japanese player in terms of the whole contingent we have. I think he's took his level above, and I think he's better than Maeda this season. He's performed better than Kyogo, because yes, he scores goals in that, but again, he comes in and out of games. So I want to see Kyogo be like he was last season, obviously before his injury, and I do believe that will come. But just touching upon him, now this is strange. This is just the way my brain thinks. So do you remember Stuart Armstrong for Celtic, the dynamic kind of box-to-box midfielder? He took the ball in, he could play a pass, he scored that free kick with his quick thinking at Inverness as well. For me, he's a bit like him. Do you see the similarities there, or is that just me kind of going off cuff?
Yeah, it's just you, I think. I think no, I hear what you're saying, but I think for me, Stuart Armstrong was more, he carried the ball. He was great at getting it in and keeping hook, a bit like Rogic, where you could give him it and he could have 2 or 3 around him, but he can carry it into spaces where I think, for me, I don't see Hatate as that sort of player, but I suppose that's Ange's style. I don't think Ange wants anybody to carry it for any more than 2 or 3 touches before they pop it off again. So
it was just one of them ones that came into my head. Obviously, Monty comes in. No, you're talking piss, Stephen. What we're going to do, Monty? Just for you,
sort of diplomatic as ever, Monty.
Just for you, big man, we're going to talk about piss, and that was Rio Hatate's pass to Cal McGregor. Anthony, one of them ones, wee bit of rush of blood to the head. A couple of Motherwell players pressing him, didn't look up, and I think McGregor actually shouted that to him, played the ball forward when he was going off. But it was a bad one, and Captain Cal had to take the fall, didn't
He did, and funnily enough, I was actually getting a bit irate, and it was the pass, but obviously Hatate made the glaring error, but I thought the pass to him was too sort of straight and square as well, and there've been a couple of passes like that in that build-up when they were trying to get forward, but they were taking one pass too many, and I think it's Jens that plays the ball to Hatate. And I just thought, no, that's wrong. It wasn't quite what we call a hospital ball because it was so far out, but I just felt it was the wrong pass. And then Hatate, then he just has it, like as Wally said, a rush of blood to the head, and it's one of those ones. And as much as in the sense that I don't think that the Motherwell player that it felt he would have had the technique to get it over Hart. I think Calmack, he was in a problem with it. He had to just in that split second, as we say, take one for the team. I actually think Welsh is closer on the telly than what I could see from where I was sitting. So I actually think he actually could have provided cover as well. But whether or not we appeals, that's a moot point. But I get that, the slack passes always happen on even the best in the world. But we'll always make slack passes, and it's just frustrating that it did happen so near the end of the game. When as Ange said in his post-match presser, these things never happen when you're 5-0 up and you're just waiting on stoppage time, filling itself out. But it was frustrating, and obviously we're potentially going to be with the captain now for a couple of games, but it's maybe a chance for a Bulgard or on Moy to stake a claim. And it'll do probably Callum McGregor a world of good for getting a little bit of a rest as well.
Well, I think I heard one of the commentators say at least he's getting a rest now. Obviously, if we don't appeal the ban. But I think William Multy's right. For me, it shouldn't be happening, right? And I know things like this can happen and blah, blah, blah. Can kind of come into the game at the latter part of it. But Hatate, for me, he can dip a player. He can move past the player. I don't know why he didn't use his body like he usually does in that situation. Cal McGregor was running up the pitch to kind of meet him in terms of being level with him. He passes the ball back. McGregor makes that run. The Motherwell player nearly gets in behind him. He had to do it. It was a red card for the team, to be fair. It wasn't like he chopped him down or went in with 2 feet. It was, for me, a captain's foul. And if he didn't do that, it was a bit like, do you remember when Neil Lennon should have took down Kaka instead of running with him against AC Milan in that knockout stage? But Cal McGregor actually took him down. For me, that was the best thing to do. Like.
Aye, I hear what you're saying. I mean, hindsight's a wonderful thing. I hear what you're saying about dipping and beating the boy, but I mean, these things happen. Like Tony says, the best there, Modric will make a slack pass from time to time, and I think that with the style of play we've got, we're susceptible to that at times when Calmack's your last man back because we're trying to get another goal. So we're susceptible to these counters in the high press, and it's just a slack pass. It happens. I'm not going to chastise him for it, like I said, because I thought he was man of the match for me, and he scored the goal that won us the game as well. So I'm not so sure I agree with this whole that shouldn't have happened, because it does. Even the best get it wrong. Even the best strikers in the world miss open goals at times. It's you know what I mean. We're susceptible to it, and it happened, and that was it. And Calmack did the right thing. I agree with you. But get off Hatate's back, for fuck's sake.
You just really you really have positivity, big man. You absolutely love it. Well, one thing I do want to talk about, and this has kind of been in my mind for a while. Egyptian King brought it up here, and I'll come to you for this, Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
I rate O'Reilly highly, but he definitely has been quiet of lately. And then further down the chat, I think it was, I can't find. Jed, not sure if the transfer speculation is affecting O'Reilly. Can you see that? Yeah, for me, obviously, I mean, Gary Melrose come in there as well, say the stats say he's been brilliant. And talking about stats, there will be another episode of the stats drop this week. I just need to organise a date with Tony, who's going out to watch the Leipzig game in Germany. So have good fun at that, and hopefully a positive result. We're going to come on to it. But it does look like O'Reilly has went off the boil a bit. For me, it doesn't look quite the same. I know he rose well for that header, and it was a cracking header, and Kyogo stole the goal off him. I still think it would have went in, kind of with a spin. But I think that maybe the transfer speculation has not got into his head, but maybe affected his mindset.
Well, there's no doubt he had one of his quieter games on on Saturday. But again, when you look back at his body of work before that, you know, I thought he did okay again against the likes of obviously Real Madrid. I'm remembering, I mean, I didn't see the full game against Shakhtar, but I don't recall him having too poor a game. And I don't think he wasn't in the team against St Mirren, wasn't he not? If I remember. So yeah, I think
he came on.
I think he's guilty, or he's a victim of what possibly so many of the other guys in the team are, is that the bar's they've raised the bar so high that the minute that they only have a 6 out of 10 game, it's all negativity. I don't necessarily. Transfer speculation only happens if there's actually solid bids, and there wasn't any solid bids. There was Twitter talk and internet speculation, and the desires of the Sun and Daily Record chimps masquerading as journalists. There was never a concrete offer put in for O'Reilly. It was all speculation, as I say, and I don't see. I mean, if you're Matt O'Reilly right now and you're bossing it in the Champions League, a relegation fight with Leicester City, I can only say if it was for myself. Even even if you weren't a Celtic supporter, you wouldn't. That's not a career. That's an upward career move, and I just think, everyone by their own standards, I would say, had probably quite a quiet game on Saturday, but it'll be okay, Stephen. It'll be okay.
I'm only saying what the viewership's saying. I mean, me personally, William, I do agree with it to a certain extent. Monty comes in. I don't think we'll really be thinking about moving away from Celtic, maybe just a bit off it. And he actually did, Anthony. If you've seen one of his press conferences, he did confirm that Leicester and Newcastle were actually sniffing around him. So there was concrete interest. Obviously, he's heard that from his agent. But do you think O'Reilly, I know it's going to come out of your mouth, William, before he can come to you right now. Do you think he's just been a wee bit off it at the moment?
Couldn't disagree more.
Tell me why. Let's go.
Let's go. Well, it was only 3-4 weeks ago that he was unbelievable against Rangers, and his assist for Jota was like out of this world. I think he's been decent in the Champions League. He didn't start against St Mirren, and he was fairly solid the other night. So I don't see what's like. We've only played 3 games since we were pumping everybody, and now it's like he's a bit off the boil. I just don't understand. And to be fair to him as well, it's difficult when you're getting hooked after an hour every single game for you to
seems to be
show your qualities. No, I disagree again, guys. Sorry, but I'm disagreeing tonight. Like I said, it was only 3-4 weeks ago. We've only played since the Rangers game where I thought he was electric, as the whole team was. We've played 3-4 games, 2 in the Champions League, which I think he's done really well in. I thought the first half against Real Madrid, he was actually exceptional in the press. It's as good as I've ever seen him. Shakhtar played decent, and he didn't start against St Mirren. So I think he's brilliant.
Again, it's all about opinions. And
would you rather have your favourite Aaron Moy taking his place?
Anthony, I'll remove you from this stream if you say that one more time. Monty has come in here and said, has Ross been put out on loan? No. The big man just completed a marathon, and he done it in 4 hours and 8 minutes. Absolutely fantastic effort from Ross and his friend Lee, I believe. So good on you. Ross will be back on this Friday coming. So look out for that. He is back. He's just been training a lot, and he's done really well in his marathon.
As Stephen says, he's back on Friday. It's the most anticipated return since Triple H in Madison Square Garden 2002.
Oh, he'll love that wrestling reference.
I know exactly. That's why I'm doing it, because I know he's a massive wrestling fan.
Is that about O'Reilly?
I hope it is. Otherwise, he's just said Me Too, William. Me Too movement going on here.
Probably just agrees.
Ryan Kelly, sometimes going off the boil does cool interest from other clubs for the likes of O'Reilly, but he'll be back again soon. I suppose he'll find his form again and can still have a good full season. It's 100%. I'm just merely going from what people are saying, and I like to bring it up, and you guys disagree. That's 100. But we'll move on to the midweek game, Anthony, and we're back in European football against RB Lepzig in Germany. They won their previous game there on the weekend 2-0, and Kunku got a double. He got them a dangerous player. They've got Timo Werner up front as well. They signed him from Chelsea for a big fee. A club for me that, regardless of the results that happened last season in European football, you kind of have to disregard that and look at them for what they are now. I know they aren't doing particularly well in the Bundesliga, but they seem to be finding their feet at just the right time to come to face us. And we're getting into this with potentially Welsh and Jens at centre back. Is that a concern for yourself? Because for me, I'll give you my 2 pence worth on it. I think it is a big concern for me. They got booted against St Mirren. They don't look like they formed a decent partnership or understand how each other play. Maybe because they're probably similar, that's fair enough. Jens obviously looks more comfortable beside Vickers, likewise with Welsh, because more experienced player can kind of bring them onto the game. But get into this vital game with them two at the back is giving me a bit of the fear, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes without saying, and it's not even a disrespect to the two players that you mentioned, but not going into an away game in the Champions League without your star man at the back. Chris Sutton was quoted as saying last week that he thinks Carter Vickers is Celtic's most important player, and you can actually absolutely understand why, because you definitely do see there are, and maybe that's potentially if it could be affecting maybe some confidence at the back. He just brings such a air of calm about him, and I think him and Starfelt, when fully fit, the way it is at the moment, probably will go back to being the first choice partnership. Obviously, CCV and Jens had struck up a good partnership at the start of the year. He did have his Livingston away performance a couple of weeks ago at St Mirren. I do agree, Stephen. But having said that, I thought he didn't do anything spectacular, but he didn't do anything wrong on Saturday either. He was relatively composed. I think.
Well, I mean, let's be fair. Honestly, Motherwell don't have Timo Werner and Cuckoo up front,
true.
They're going to be fairly comfortable.
Think by the same point, I think Stephen Welsh is. There's no doubt he's definitely went through a little bit of crisis of confidence. I think we remember we've seen the heroics of Jack Hendry for Scotland the last couple of weeks, but remember there was a period at time at Celtic as well when it just everything that he touched, that you could just see that his confidence had completely gone. I don't think Stephen Welsh is quite at that level just yet, but I think he's just perhaps needing a game where nothing quite goes wrong for him, so to speak, and we just have one of those games where we blow a team out the water, and that will just let him, compose himself a little bit. Listen, if we have to go and face Timo Werner, where a back four that's not our most sort of experienced, then we'll just have to run with it. But there's no doubt missing CCV is going to be a massive loss, and the quicker we can get him back, the better, because I agree with Chris Sutton. Yeah, I think he is our most important player, maybe along with Callum McGregor. But it's in terms of Red Bull themselves, I agree with you, Stephen. I think this is a team that are perhaps I think they hit rock bottom a few weeks back, and then obviously the massive defeat to Shakhtar at home, but I think they'll be a bit more organised come Wednesday night. I don't think this is I think because we got a result in Shakhtar, in terms of we've got a point on the board, and the fact that we've got 2 home games coming up, I don't think this is a must-win for Celtic, and especially with the injuries that you mentioned and the fact that we'll be going up with a sort of makeshift back four. If somebody said right now that we'd come out of Lepzig with a point, with 2 home games to come, I would take that every day of the week. Obviously, you want them to win, we always do, but right now, I'd be more than happy with a point.
Well, we'll come on to the result in a wee second. I want to bring up some of the comments. Gary Melrose, Leipzig's 2 attackers are world class. All due respect, Mueller, Welsh or Jens are. Monty, lighthearted, kind of get the thought of Ross at the wrestling front row, eyeing up the men in tights, all sweaty. Sean the Mac, totally agree with Sutton. Carter Vickers is our most important player, Tony. And Kenny, watching from the airport, boys, about to depart to Berlin and on to Leipzig. Have a safe journey.
Enjoy
the game. But coming to yourself, William, I mean, for me, as I said, if you're facing, like, again, it's no disrespect, but I said it before, Welsh for me, he's not Celtic class. I think it may be in domestic level, you get away with it in the cup competitions, but European levels, different gravy. When you're playing against Timo Werner, he was, albeit didn't really work out well for him in the Premier League, but now he's back in the Bundesliga where he had loads and loads of kind of goals and all before he made that move to Chelsea. He's back where it started for him. It is for me a concern. And you have Taylor and you have Juranovic. You've got two of your first choice back four. Get into Leipzig. It doesn't look good for me from that outset. Attacking wise, there's rumours as well, William, that Abada could be out due to the religious ceremony that happens in Israel. Can't quite remember the name of it, but again, big misses if Carter Vickers and Abada miss out.
Oh yeah, I mean it's not ideal going into the game with that. Yeah, it's for me. It's just CCV. He needs to be in there. I mean, the gaffer said at the weekend that he's not going to be fit for the Motherwell game, but he could make Wednesday. So I wouldn't be putting all your eggs in one basket. Hopefully he makes it. But I agree. I said all last year. I said there was 3 players in the team last year that were irreplaceable. Everybody else was, and that's not to say like Kyogo's not as good. But when he dropped out the team, we didn't miss him because Gigi was there to come in, etc. O'Reilly, Turnbull, like they're all wonderful players, but somebody can come in and do a job. And I said last year that Hart, it's changed this year because I think Siegrist could come in and do a job. But I agree with what Tony's saying because the 3 last year I said were Hart, CCV and Kalmak. I think Kalmak and CCV are the 2 that are irreplaceable in that first 11. So it would be a big blow if he didn't make it. Hopefully he does make it. I really like the look of Jens. I know there's mistakes in him, and as there is, everybody, Starfelt was making mistakes when he came in, but a lot of love for Welsh tonight, Jens is, I can see why Jens is an Ange signing because he's really a proper ball playing defender. He's as good as he's probably their best at bringing the ball out for the back. I would say he's better than CCV at doing that.
I agree.
Side of the game. But I think I don't know if it's the communication side of things or whatnot, but CCV beside anybody seems to be our strongest backline. It's a shame that Starfelt's been injured actually because he was brilliant towards the end of last season, and the little cameos he's made this year, he's looked great. So, but I know what you're saying. We're going in against a team with Werner and Kunku up front. I know their form's been a bit indifferent. The new managers came in and they got a great result against Dortmund. I think they beat them 3-0. But then I think a week later they got beat off Mönchengladbach 3-0. So it's ebbs and flows. Hopefully we catch them on a not so good night. But even if they come at their best, I still think we're more capable of getting something out of the game. Like Tony, I think I would take a draw. But that's not how we play. We want to go and get the win. So that's first and foremost. But if we come away with a draw, I won't be too disappointed. Especially, like you say, if it is Welsh and Jens, then it's going to be a big blow. But I think I'm hopeful that CCV will make it, especially after what the gaffer said at the weekend. As presser, he said, I think the first question in the presser was, what's the injury like after the national break? And he said, GG and CCV won't make the weekend, but they should be fit for next week. So I'm taking that as they'll be fit for Wednesday night.
Yeah.
I think the only one he said was Starfelt's going to be out for the foreseeable. So I'm hopeful he'll make it.
Yeah, if he makes it and he's fit enough, he has to start that game regardless. I think Gary 100%. Melrose comes in. Leipzig are in a transition from a tactically inept manager with a chaotic system. Shakhtar got them at the best time. They've been recovering in time for us. A point would be brilliant. 3 would be amazing. That brings me on, Willie. I come straight back to you. I said to use in terms of what we're going to talk about. I think personally, this is a must-win game for Celtic going away to Germany. For our hopes that in European football to be relived and get through the last 16 of the Champions League. I think it sets it up quite nicely. I know people are talking about bringing them home and getting 6 points maximum of Shakhtar and Leipzig at Celtic Park, but you can't guarantee that's going to happen.
Agreed.
I think we need to go into this game with the mindset to get a positive result. And the Leverkusen games, albeit they weren't the greatest and we got goals and stuff against them, they give me hope because we competed against a very good Leverkusen side last year when we weren't quite at full tilt, still not a full squad together, and Hans Postecoglou and the team managed to deliver a good game against them over the both games. But that's my opinion. I know you said a draw, but that still is Leipzig be Shakhtar on 4 points, wouldn't it? We'd be on 2 if they get beat by Madrid.
Yeah.
So yes. for me, I think it's a must win, and I know you said draw, but can you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, I hear what you're saying, mate, and you're saying about going to get a positive result. That's the only way Ange knows how to play. He's not going to go out and he'll not be saying this to the players. He'll not be saying, you know what, we'll try and get the win, but if we get a draw, I'll be happy. What is brilliant, man. I hear what you're saying, and I honestly see if we are more clinical, we'll beat them. We just need to put the ball in the back of the net. That Shakhtar game was, I can't believe we only drew that game away. I thought we were excellent, and we should have scored at least another one goal. I thought we were superb, and we just need to take our chances. And if we do, we'll win the game, because we'll create chances. There's 100% we'll create chances, and we'll create a handful of them. It's just whether we take them or not, and we keep them out of the other end. And I think we're more than capable. But like I say, what you said there, I'm in the agreement. If we get 6 points for our home games, we're in with a right good chance of getting through this group. And a draw would be, and I know what you're saying, we're not guaranteed 6 points. I know that, but I don't see this as a must win, like you're saying. I'd probably say it's just a must. I do not lose, because I think we could lose it and still go through, to be honest with you. I think these 2 home games are pivotal. They're really, really pivotal. So, want to win it. Obviously, I think we will. But I would take a draw. I wouldn't be too disappointed.
100%. I mean, for me personally, that we'll have to be honest. Celtic Park hasn't been a fortress in European football in quite some time. So that's for me why the points definitely aren't guaranteed against Shakhtar and Leipzig. Because in previous years gone by, you could be like, yeah, we'll take them. We'll get a result, possibly 3 points in the bag. But Podrick comes in here with an interesting one. Anthony, has that draw with Shakhtar shook our confidence slightly in an attacking sense? Because we have slightly dropped off being more clinical, taking our chances. And as William rightly said, if we do take them, albeit I believe we'll concede maybe a couple of goals, so we need to be firing all cylinders to get a result in Germany. Do you think that's maybe a concern with Podrick saying? Can you see what he's saying there?
Yeah, well, I think our friend of the show, James P, wrote a similar article going along similar lines after the Shakhtar game. I think, listen, there's no doubt, there was definitely, you think of that one, the 2 chances at the end with Giakoumakis and Maeda, you're staring in disbelief almost that we've not even hit the target, rather than even scoring the goal. But it could be, obviously, we've not been as clinical. It's a fact we've not been as clinical in front of goal since, but I would like to think that even if that has been the case, that that the gaffer will have kind of been working, and the coaches will be working with the players to try and eradicate that as much as they can. I think, but in terms of the match itself, I'm kind of in the camp with William, but I totally take your point, Stephen, that Celtic Park's not been that fortress that it has for quite some time now. So 6 points at home is absolutely by no means a given. But I do think, for what I've seen in the tournament so far, I'm as confident as I can be as going and winning the games at home, which would get us right back in contention. So, like I say, obviously, as you guys say, Ange isn't going to go out and play for a draw. We only know one way under Ange, and that's the way I would want them to play. Go out and play for the win. But just obviously, if somebody said to me right now, you'll get out of there with a point on the board, another point on the board, sorry, I would take it, I have to say.
Fair enough. I mean, Gary Melrose comes in, he's made some cracking points tonight. What's important to me is that for the first time in years, decades, I'm not dreading it and think we're capable of winning away by playing our game in the Champions League, not hanging on and hoping. I think that's an absolutely fantastic point, because years and years in terms of playing European football, we all know Celtic's away record has been absolutely shambolic, and also not winning a knockout tie since 2004, which is it's horrendous, to be fair. Like it's madness. But I do want to point to something, and that's the Viewer Takeover. It's back again this month with Jed Thomas on the last Friday, I think the 30th, if I can remember correctly. He'll be on doing the Viewer Takeover of us. If anyone's interested, please contact us on social media or reach out to the Endless Celts Podcast channel on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, wherever it may be. We'd love to get you on, get you having a couple of pints with the lads. It'd be a great crack, get involved with it. We're coming to you, William, to kind of round it off here. There's a few tasty ones in my lineup, kind of changes, but what would you change? What would be your prediction and the score?
I would go with the same team that played Saturday. I like Maeda in Europe. I know everybody's getting on his back as well a bit, but I like Maeda and his work rate. I think O'Reilly's been fantastic. Kyogo, I'll always nip in with a goal. So I'd go with the same team unless CCV's fit, and then obviously he would go in for Welsh. But I think it'll be the same team. I think we'll win.
What's the score then?
2-1.
2-1. Fair enough. Anthony, yourself, mate?
The same as Wally. To be honest, mate, I think Maeda gives you that kind of that constant work rate in Europe. I think Jota's not done anything to risk, to merit being dropped, and especially if Abada's potentially a doubt, then that negates that debate. And I think Kyogo will start because I don't think he would bring in a kind of half fit GG to start. So yeah, like you say, it'll probably be the same team unless CCV's fit. But having said that, that's what we thought a couple of weeks ago, and Haksabanovic ended up starting and had a great first half in Shakhtar. So it remains to be seen what team we'll get. But so yeah, I'm going to go for the same team as well. And 2-1 in Europe's always a great result for Celtic. So I'll put my hat on that.
I think that's the best thing about this. Now, see, on Wednesday, if we come in and if it's no Maeda that's playing, but it's Haksabanovic or Abada, we're not going to be disappointed. It doesn't really matter who flings in there. We're still going to be excited because the squad depth's that good. They all give different options. And I'm for one really excited about Haksabanovic. I really want to see a bit more of him. I really want to see some more of him. So hopefully in the league games coming up, he'll get a run of games because I think he's going to be a player. And I think Jota on one side and him on the other is a scary thought.
He's deceivingly quick. He doesn't look the quickest, but he gets by his man quite easily, and he has a good right or left peg on him because he hits shots with both, especially that one against Rangers where he stung the palms of John McLaughlin in that game. But the point to the comments, Paul McFarland, 2-1 for Celtic. Let's get some positivity. Monty play the same team, but point to Tate and the direct play. Alistair Jack, 1 each. Christie, our chances have to come at some stage. Sean the Mac, 2-2 for me. And then Padraig wants to know the prices. I have no idea what the prices may be in this, but get looking. I'm sure they're good. I mean, for me personally, Jed Thomas as well. Fuck it, we'll win 2-0. As I said, for me it's a must-win game. I'll go for myself. Joe Hart and Nets, possibly Seagrist, and Joe Hart, Juranovic. I'll go Jens, Abelgard, Taylor, McGregor, Hatate, O'Reilly, Yakimakis through the middle, Jota on the left, and Maeda on the right. And I'll go 2-1 as well to Celtic. The reason why I say
you're not in charge.
No, the reason why I say Abelgard, right? Let me make my point here. There was a person in the comments as well who said it was in my mind. He's played centre back before for Rubin Kazan in Russia. A tough league, let's be honest. Physical strikers, all the rest of it. If he can offer stuff in there that Wells can't, I'd put them in. No issue at all. He did it with Haksabanovic against Shakhtar. Why can't he do it with him? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, he could. Aye, totally.
So that's my reason. And as I said to you that before, there will be an episode of Stats Drop this week to look back on the RB Lepzig game and the Motherwell game, more in depth, figures, analytics, data. If you're interested, watch along. It's great crack. It's a learning process.
It's all about the XG.
All about the XG is right, Anthony. But to you, Stu, have you enjoyed this one?
Pleasure as always, mate. I love it. Can't get enough.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Thanks to Franco for that last minute switch in the schedule. I know I was meant to be on Friday. I think folk will probably be sick of the sound of my voice. I've been on 2 or 3 in a row now. But you'll be glad to know that you'll not see me for a fortnight because I'm off on my holidays next week. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Enjoy, bud.
I hope you enjoy it, buddy. Alistair Jack, thank fuck Stephen is not the boss. Thanks, Alistair, for that. Thank you. Loads of confidence. And as I say, our show sponsors, they're here. Beer 52, get on it. beer52.com/Celts, free case of beer, all that great stuff. We magazine that to read. But until Friday, when Ross is back from his marathon, stay well and keep safe. Hail, hail.